All right, YouTubers, today we got a 2015 Lincoln MKS, as in Sally. We have a continuous crank, but it never turns over and runs. I mean, it turns over, it cranks and cranks and cranks, but never actually gets going, you know, vroom vroom. So what I did and what the problem and resolution were, I started out by popping the hood. Let's see that next. All right, hood is popped. If you can't figure that out on your own, you don't need to be in here. All right, so what do we got? If you got an engine that won't start, it needs fuel, it needs air, and it needs spark. So what did I do first? Well, if you unscrew this right here, and if you want, you can unscrew that strap too. You can pull out this, you can disconnect that hose by maneuvering that clip and pulling it. And there's also a hose that's connected here that if you want to just pull it up and off, you can. This is your air intake into your throttle body. So you pull that up, get it out of your way, and you'll see your throttle body. That's that silver aluminum housing down here underneath this engine decoration. That's all that is. To take the engine decoration off, if you want to undo that. Undo that plastic bolt, and away you go. So what are you going to do, or what did I do? To determine that we had spark and air, and that the problem was a fuel related problem, I used carburetor starter fluid. Starter fluid. So when you have this off, you can have somebody sit in the car and crank it and spray a little starter fluid in there. And in my case, the engine turned right over and started to purr until it ran out of starter fluid to burn. So I knew I had a fuel problem. What did I do with the fuel problem? Well, this here is actually your hose coming from your fuel pump to feed the fuel rail. It's a 6-cylinder engine, so you got a fuel rail kind of here and another fuel rail here underneath some of the intake. So we needed fuel. I popped that little red clip off. You just pull it back, and then you push in that little black right there, that little black piece. It's like a PMA kind of style connection. Anyway, so you pull the red clip off the back, push the little triangle, black plastic triangle in, and you can remove it. Now normally there's, pressure on the line, especially if you've been trying to start the car. But when I took mine out, there was no pressure. Very little fuel came out. I knew something was up with the pump in the pump system. So let's keep tracking it back. What's between the fuel rail and the pump? On some vehicles, nothing. On this particular vehicle, there's also what's known as a fuel pump control module. And that was the culprit in this case. So, how did I find that out? Stay tuned. So this here is the fuel pump control module. That's the one that came out, that's the bad one. Here's the replacement part. Oh, and here's a funny story. So I'm thinking to myself, after I get this thing out, hey, OEM parts are more expensive than aftermarket. Why don't I be a smart guy and go to Napa and say, Napa, do you have this fuel pump control module for my 2015 Lincoln MKS? They're like, yeah, we do. It's $75. We can get it to you later this afternoon. I was like, wow, sweet, same day. I'm all right with that. But I said, well, let me go to the dealer anyway. I just want to see what they want for theirs, because 75 bucks is 75 bucks. And I'm thinking, shit, the dealer's probably gonna want 150. So I drive my happy ass out to the dealer, and they quote me 40 bucks. Can you believe that? When have you ever seen an OEM part cheaper than the aftermarket at Napa? Unbelievable. Anyway, so this is the defective part. Now, you need to know how to get to that part, and you need to know how to troubleshoot it to see if it really is that or the fuel pump. So let's go to where it's located at. All right, I'm going here to my back seat, passenger side back seat, and you'll see, sorry about the mess in there, tissues and whatnot, that fuel pump control module is actually right behind here. You're like, no way. Who would put something behind the seat, especially a seat that doesn't fold down? Well, secret. This car is very similar to the Ford Taurus, and I believe the Taurus seat will fold down. So in this case with the Lincoln, if your seat doesn't fold down, then you got to take this seat off, which is done. There's two little plastic clips down here. You can put your finger under there, find it, move the clip one direction and pull the seat up. There's one on each side. And then you can pull the seat out. There's also some little steel rods down here that you kind of have to maneuver the seat in and up and out. That'll take the bottom of the seat out. Then there's two bolts, one down here, one on the other side. Undo those two bolts. I don't remember the metric, but everything in this car is metric, so it's metric. Undo the two bolts, and then you just lift the seat straight up. There's two metal, there's a metal tab in the back of the seat that goes down and holds in the steel bracket, one on each side. You don't want to tilt the seat up any, because then you start binding those brackets. You just lift the seat straight up from its resting position after you get it. You know, you'll tilt it up off the bolt and then put it back down, and then you just be able to lift the seat up. The whole seat comes out. Behind there is the fuel pump control module. You'll pull the cable assembly off of it. It's a little gray circle. And that gray circle has, I don't know, 6 wires or so. So you want to troubleshoot it and confirm that your fuel pump still works. So I found this on another YouTube video, and I'm going to kind of pause over it so you can print it off. Both this and the next picture are the same. It's just with this hand moved so you can read all the text. But basically it says after you check that 30 amp fuse in the box under the hood, and I'll show you where that is next, if that fuse is all right, go to the fuel pump control module, remove the cable assembly, and on the end of that cable assembly, you can test the violet green wire at pin 1 and the black yellow wire, and that's at pin 4, and look for 12 volts. It's a little goofy. It's not always got 12 volts on it, especially if you're having problems with your module. You know, put some little legs in there with, you know, on your voltmeter, and then have, you know, your helper try to start the car. Just monitor it, see if you ever get 12 volts there. It might be temporary and then go away. At least that's what I saw with mine. So, but I did see 12 volts. So what did I do? Here, I'm going over to the second picture now and hanging out there. So if you see 12 volts, what it's telling you to do there on step 4 is make a jumper between the violet green and the yellow gray. So between pin 1 and pin 5. Back over here to the first sheet. So you make a jumper pin 1 to pin 5, and you'll find out they're literally right across from each other. You make a little U-shaped jumper. So that's jumper in the power. Then you jumper the ground, which is the black, yellow, and the white, black. Another little U-shaped jumper on the other side of the connector. One jumper, two jumpers. That will run power and ground to the fuel pump. It jumpers power straight to the pump. If your helper turns the car on, because I got a push button start, and you'll hear the fuel pump running, and it runs continuously, that means your fuel pump works fine. It's your fuel pump control module that needs to be replaced. So that's how you troubleshoot it. If your pump won't run after you jumper the power to it, it's probably a pump problem. And if it does run, then it's the control module. And I'm telling you, most people have control module problems. So if you're gonna play shotgun mechanic, shotgun the fuel pump control module first. All right, more to come on that fuse panel under the hood. All right, we're back under the hood. Remember those instructions? Step 1, check the fuse. Here's your fuse box. You gotta get this thing to pop off somehow. It's always easier said than done. There, 2 tabs on the top. I'll pop the cover right off. Fuse 65 to 30 amp fuse right there. The other thing worth mentioning is, I don't know if you can see it, but right in there is the fuel relay. So those are the 2 things that would be involved, the relay and the fuse for the fuel pump. Put your lid back on after you check it out. You just, oh, sorry, I skipped it. So you just grab a little pair of needle nose pliers, you pull it out, you look at it, and there'll be like a little window. If it doesn't look burnt and that connection between the two sides of the fuse is still there, you can also stick a voltmeter on it and do a continuity check, and that's how you know if your fuse is good or bad. So when I had the fuel pump power jumpered and it was running, I was actually able to come here and I just barely pushed it off and I could feel pressure on it, and then fuel tried to spurt around, so I put it all back together and clipped it back up. And I knew the problem was the control module. You know, the pump gave me my pressure, had a lot of fuel. So that's when I ran to Napa and the dealer, got the part from the dealer because it was cheaper, 40 bucks. Like I said, Napa was like 75, maybe CarQuest or AutoZone, you know, is reasonable, and back in that 40, maybe hell, maybe it's 20. I didn't even check Amazon. Anyway, the point of the story, check around, get what you want. And I replaced it, problem went away, car starts right up. There you have it. Hey guys, it's my smiling face. Thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, get the old man a couple bucks on YouTube, would you? Thanks, bye.